Kamala Harris's positions on 10 key issues. Days before the Democratic National Convention, Vice President Kamala Harris is riding high on a wave of favorable polls and energetic rallies. But beyond the good vibes, where does the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee stand on key issues? Although she has yet to release a comprehensive platform, her time as a California senator and prosecutor, her 2020 bid for the presidency, and role in the White House as vice president give hints as to where Ms. Harris stands on a number of policies. Over the years, some of her positions have shifted, and some have said that she has struggled to define herself. To get a better understanding of what her policy agenda now might look like, BBC News reviewed Ms. Harris's recent speeches and public statements as a 2024 candidate, her record as vice president, and her political history as a 2020 presidential candidate, California senator, and prosecutor. Ms. Harris's campaign told the BBC that the candidate's most recent statements best reflect her intentions if elected president. Vice President Harris will build on the Biden-Harris administration's historic agenda that beat Big Pharma, created nearly 16 million jobs, and delivered on the first bipartisan gun safety legislation in 3 decades, Harris campaign spokesperson Kevin Munoz said in a statement. Here are Ms. Harris's positions on 10 key issues. Number 1, economy. As a senator, Ms. Harris championed a number of progressive policies, including paid family leave, affordable housing, and free tuition for low- and middle-income families. As vice president, she has been Mr. Biden's partner in passing major economic legislation, regularly labeled Bidenomics, which included major investments in infrastructure and green energy. But with inflation and high interest rates continuing to bedevil American wallets, polls have shown that the economy continues to be top of mind for many voters. On Friday, Ms. Harris released her economic plan, including mortgage assistance for first-time homebuyers, a tax credit for parents of newborns, and bans on price gouging at the grocery store to help target inflation. And like her opponent, former US President Donald Trump, she has come out against taxing tips. As president, I will be laser-focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy, she said. Friday, number 2, immigration. Ms. Harris's position on the border has changed from when she first ran for office. In 2020, while campaigning for the Democratic presidential nomination, she held fairly progressive positions, such as promising to close down immigration detention centers. In 2021, Mr. Biden asked Ms. Harris to oversee the diplomatic effort to address the immigration issues on the U.S. southern border. She was not, as characterized by many Republicans, a border czar, but instead worked with Central American countries on the root causes of why people there were fleeing to the U.S. As part of that effort, she announced in 2023 that she had helped raise about $3 billion, largely from private companies, to invest in communities in the region, hoping to provide opportunities that would make immigrating to the U.S. less attractive. Earlier this year, she aided the effort to pass a hardline bipartisan border security deal that would have included hundreds of millions of dollars for border wall construction. But Trump helped kill the deal, accusing Biden's border policies of causing death, destruction, and chaos in every American community. Her campaign said that if she were elected president, she remains committed to bipartisan solutions to strengthen border security. Number 3, abortion. Ms. Harris has long supported women's right to an abortion. She played a key role in the Biden campaign's effort to make abortion rights central to the 2024 election, and she has long advocated for legislation that would enshrine reproductive rights nationwide. That position has not changed. When Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will sign it into law, she said, at a rally for her 2024 campaign in Atlanta, Georgia. She was the first vice president to visit an abortion clinic, and she toured the country after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022 to speak about the growing number of abortion bans in the U.S., often framing the issue as one about personal freedom. Powerful reproductive rights advocacy groups, such as Emily's List and Reproductive Freedom for All, have officially endorsed Ms. Harris since she started her presidential run. Number 4. NATO and Ukraine aid. While much of her early career focused on the state of California, since going to Washington as a senator in 2017, Ms. Harris has become more involved on the global stage. As senator, she traveled to Afghanistan, Iraq, Jordan, and Israel. As vice president, she has met 150 world leaders and visited 21 countries. She attended the Munich Security Conference in the past year, and she delivered remarks in support of NATO that denounced isolationism and vowed to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. She also represented the US in June at the Peace Conference convened by Ukraine in Switzerland, where she reaffirmed US support to Kyiv. Within 48 hours of her candidacy becoming public, 350 leading U.S. foreign policy and national security experts, largely Democrats, released a letter endorsing her as the best qualified person to lead the country in international affairs. Number 5. Israel-Gaza war. Ms. Harris has been a long-time advocate for a two-state solution. As vice president, she was more open to criticizing Israel during the Israel-Gaza war than Mr. Biden. She was one of the first members of the administration to call for an immediate ceasefire, raised concerns over the humanitarian catastrophe for Palestinians, and charged Israel with ending the conflict. She held what she called frank and constructive talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when he visited Washington in July. As the presumptive Democratic candidate, she said she told Mr. Netanyahu that she had serious concerns about casualties in Gaza and that the way Israel defended itself mattered. "It is time for this war to end," she said after face-to-face talks at the White House. She does not support an arms embargo on Israel, however, as some on the U.S. left have called for. Her national security advisor, Phil Gordon, said on X that she has been clear. She will always ensure Israel is able to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups. Number 6. Taxes. In 2017, while a senator, Ms. Harris supported a number of progressive tax programs, co-sponsoring a bill with Bernie Sanders to expand Social Security for the elderly by increasing the tax rate on investments. As a presidential candidate in 2019, she supported a corporate tax rate of 35%, up from 21%. This was more aggressive than President Biden's proposal, which she also supported, of an increase to 28%. A campaign official told the BBC that the vice president would continue to back President Biden's proposal of not raising taxes on low- and middle-income Americans earning less than $400,000, $10,000. Number 7. Healthcare. As California's Attorney General, Ms. Harris and her office often used antitrust laws to keep insurers, hospitals, and drug companies from raising customer costs. When she became a U.S. Senator and later a 2020 candidate for president, she held more progressive views than Mr. Biden, supporting expanding Medicare and publicly funded healthcare programs. Her campaign told the BBC that, as president, she would not push for a single-payer system. While she was vice president, the White House reduced prescription drug costs, capped insulin prices at $35, allowed Medicare to negotiate drug prices, and capped out-of-pocket expenses for Medicare drug coverage. Number 8. Crime. Ms. Harris started her legal career prosecuting child abusers and sex traffickers before being elected District Attorney of San Francisco, then California's Attorney General. Her office's increased conviction rates, particularly of violent criminals, though that history led to criticism from the progressive left, which at times labelled her a cop. Meanwhile, the right has accused her of being soft on crime, although her record is contradictory. As a prosecutor, she declined to seek the death penalty against someone who killed a cop, but as California's Attorney General, she fought for the state's right to keep using it. Ms. Harris has also used her past as a prosecutor to serve as a major contrast with her opponent, who was convicted on 34 charges in a hush money scheme to illegally influence the 2016 election. Kamala Harris is a pragmatic prosecutor who has successfully taken on predators, fraudsters, and cheaters like Donald Trump, her campaign spokesperson James Singer said. Number 9. Climate. Ms. Harris has long advocated for tough laws to protect the environment. As a prosecutor, Ms. Harris defended California's climate laws and sued oil companies for environmental damage. She also called for climate change policies via a Green New Deal during her 2020 presidential campaign, some of which has come to fruition under the current administration. During a CNN presidential debate in 2019, she said that there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking, but she has since reversed her position since throwing her hat into the 2024 presidential race. As vice president, she helped pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which has funneled hundreds of billions of dollars to renewable energy and electric vehicle tax credit and rebate programs. Last year, she noted in a speech that it constituted the largest climate investment in our nation's history and emphasized the need to protect against extreme weather. Number 10. Gun laws. Ms. Harris has a history of backing gun safety regulations throughout her political career, and she successfully defended California's gun laws when they faced legal challenges as the state's Attorney General. As Vice President, she has overseen the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and earlier this year announced the creation of resource centers to support the implementation of red flag laws, aimed at keeping firearms from those who may harm themselves and others. She also encouraged states to tap into $750 million in federal funds that the Biden-Harris administration made available for crisis intervention programs. Share your thoughts in comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more updates. Thanks for watching.